A pleasant afternoon to you all. My name is Barbara Matarese, and welcome to Behind the Mic here on Zimbabwe Daily. So, on our show today, I have the Secretary and Acting Spokesperson of Passengers Association of Zimbabwe with me. Sir, can you please introduce yourself?
Good day, Zimbabwe. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to represent Passengers Association of Zimbabwe. I am Andrew Chibanda, the organizing secretary and acting spokesperson.
Thank you for being with us here. And of course, as usual, I have Brian with me, my co-host. Please, Brian, say hi to the audience.
Hello, viewers. Welcome to Zimbabwe Daily Behind the Mic. Today is a very good day. We've got a good guest. I think my passengers. Yeah, I think I can give it back to you.
So, Mr. Shibanda, let's talk. let's begin the conversation, please. Can you enlighten us about how the current reforms that the ZRP has done and the government in terms of transport is affecting passengers in Zimbabwe?
Firstly, we would like to thank the Zimbabwe Republic Police for the efforts they are putting on trying to curb crime committed using these private vehicles. As we had reports some time ago that these vehicles are being used to perpetrate some kinds of crimes against passengers, like theft, rape, and many others. But on the contrary, the transport system in Zimbabwe is in its depression. We do not have enough transport to cater for the population that we have in Zimbabwe, particularly looking at Harare. ZUPCO in its own cannot supply enough buses to ferry passengers home or to work in time. So we have seen people being congested in main terminal in Harare and other areas like Bulawayo. So this kind of action was done without enough foresight of what is going to happen thereafter. So what we are looking at is passenger safety. As passengers move from point A to point B, be it from home to get a bus to work or from work to get a bus going home. Sometimes they are waking up early, as far as 3 o'clock a.m., and along the way, they are finding it difficult to walk alone. Maybe you have to ask a neighbor to accompany you or wait for someone, because along the way they are meeting thugs, their belongings are being stolen, they are being mugged, and many other things are happening out there. And the same happens as they are going home. They are getting transport late, and we fear that the end result is people are going to sleep in towns so that they save time going home and coming back to work. Because ZUPCO buses sometimes on Mondays, Fridays, these buses are not available in the residential areas, so that people can be ferried to their working places.
Yes.
So it's really difficult. What is needed there is to have a focus before we implement certain actions on what needs to be done. Because as we see it as passengers, the problem is not about mushikashika.
Yes.
The problem is centered on policy implementation. Yes, our government is good at planning. The plans are good.
They have ideas.
We want a transport system which is smart,
reliable
Well,
and
safe to the passengers as well.
But how do we get to that end? How are we going to get transport which is reliable, safe, and affordable?
Yes.
That's the question.
That's the question.
So,
So Brian, I don't know. Lately, I've had people talking, like when I was talking to Mr. Chibanda earlier, and he was saying, this issue didn't start now. It has only worsened. we have been having transport issues in Zimbabwe. There have been very imminent transport issues in Zimbabwe. It's only that because they have tried to some sort of reform on Mshika Shika and it has worsened. What's your take on that? What's your take?
My take on that, I think our government you could get it, But if you look at it, Mbangwe makombi jeje, so the makombi awandika, inye kuti zupwenge sambo kwanza utagravan big then. But at least ngwe makombi, you know to when on time, you get home on time. But this issue my years it away was like the previous weeks before this blitz yatanga. Panaengo zara still. People they were queuing Kunana Chata, Kunana Fosi, Pana Julius Nyerere. If you go Pana Julius Nyerere,
and you have the choice,
plus what is the same passengers, just na choice. Tango Kuira Mshika Shika, even the safety. Because of time. Even we used to this car, Pana safety, both motors actually was Tarisaka, at Zinamatai, but it was a very, very tough time. And now it is.
I need to go home. I need to get into this and go home.
As you were saying, but if you go home later, you get mad. Probably 9, 10. But now it's worse. It's much more worse.
Okay.
And this non-availability of subsidized transport, particularly looking at ZUPCO. Have you seen that every street corner in Harare is now a pickup point in the transport?
Exactly.
Because there's no transport which is readily available for people to get home. So everyone is scattered everywhere, trying to hike and chase their luck if they get anything to go to get home in time.
So I think, as usual, you will always find me on the streets. Yes, I always stay on the streets, trying to look and, verifying other people's comments on this take. And I would like to just put forward this comment on this table so that we can at least look at it and discuss it in its all in depth. So this question, this comment, Irukunzi Iyo, there were no transport problems before the imposition of ZUPCO monopoly. ZANU-PF regime is that Oronist whose carries back as a firefighter. All they know is burning. Don't burn when you have no plan. I think the reason why I'm putting this on the table is I want us to talk about the fact that he mentioned, Kuti, there were no transport problems before the imposition of ZUPCO. Would you say there were no transport problems before the imposition of ZUPCO?
Problems were there, but they were minimal. Only the challenge that we had during that time is on how fares were being done.
They were now charging crazy.
Considering the weather patterns, supply and demand curve, all those things affected how
the price.
So on this issue, monopoly. Of course, monopolies are bad because they are centered on one thing. We are looking at an individual company or entity providing its own services. It is only the competitor, it is only the one who structures fares for itself, particularly competing with no one.
Yes, very
but
true.
But the end result is monopolies don't last longer. They don't work, especially in the economy like ours, which is more indigenous. We had a lot of people who were employed in the transport sector using those pirate combis. And for reference sake, Mushikashika started long ago. This is Tichikura Taitokuira, Zumota, Zuma 5, 4, 4, Zuma 4, 4. It was good. That was subsidizer. And playing a greater part to bridge the gap you create when a state-owned transport system and a private transport system. So, zvinofanira kuti zvigadziriswe apa inyaya yebureaucracy ndo imwe inonetsa pamagovernment programs kuti chinobva pane uyu choenda pane uyu, and sometimes decisions are made by a single person. So tinogona kupa dambudziko redu kune uyu asi haana answer kwazviri. Secomment yabva kuverengwa apo yanopa mhosva
Government.
kugovernment,
Yes.
but mapirwo aitwa mhosva kugovernment akanoti 1 day, zvekuti zvakadaro government inogona kudzoka zvakare ichipa mhosva isusu vacho vari kuground zvakare kuti tizoita this action is because inimi vanhu vacho muriko you were not behaving zvatiri kutarisira kuti munge muchiita
behavior. Yes.
And some of the wars passengers are fighting for, they should not be fighting for that. Instead, it must be these other transport operators who should be fighting for this to end.
Maybe
because
not.
They want to be in business. Like if you look, panzi transport tainayo inokwana kumakore ari kumashure tisinganetseki. Zvanga zvakanaka kuti motikari dzaifamba dzanga dzakawanda pamugwagwa, makombi, then these bigger conventional buses. Tikatarisa nhamba yemabuses atinawo under ZUPCO, be it the white buses and those on franchise, they are less than 2,000 buses on the roads, including the combis right now, against 10,000 combis which were available yesteryear. So the gap is too wide to match with this kind of system we have at the moment.
But as it stands, as Passengers Association, how many buses do we need, let's say in the Greater Harare, to make efficient transportation for our passengers?
Greater Harare alone needs close to 1,000 buses. That is if you want to have a vibrant transport system.
Efficient, you need about 1,000. Okay. But do you have a number of how many buses here ZUPCO providing for our passengers here in Harare? Do you have a...
Let me check. There's just a few buses.
Okay. I think as we wait for him to check about the numbers, I had him when he said there are certain wars that the passenger is fighting for that should not be done by a passenger. And what do you think about that?
Yeah.
In the instant that the passenger, someone is supposed to be receiving a service, is now crying foul of that service and helping the service providers. I mean, what's your take on that?
We don't have to go to that extent. My passengers now we have to fight for what we have to say. I think the government, I'm always telling what I'm saying right now. I think the government needs to do something. The government needs to do something about that. Seriously, if you see those passengers right now, as we are talking, this is 2:30.
It's nearly 3:00.
Your kid up at school at 12. But right now, actually, I got to meet a papa bus stop and he has to go home, do homework and everything.
And if you don't finish work at 3, you're probably going to get home by 11. You know.
So this is not.
It's not working.
Yeah.
Mr. Shibanda, I will just have to go through the current cabinet statement that they made. I think it was done yesterday. I'll just read through it and I'll want to know what's your take on it as a passenger. As a passenger, yes. Let me go through it. It says your cabinet wishes to clarify that government has not banned the operation of private contractors in the public transport sector, while nothing the apparent withdrawal of services by some operations. Cabinet wishes to state that no effort is being spared in ensuring that the inconvenience to the traveling public is minimized. Government would like to assure the nation that ZUPCO is engaging with contractors with a view to ensuring that all areas are settled and resolving any outstanding matters. In addition, more ZUPCO buses that were undergoing licensing have since been cleared and are now plying various routes. ZUPCO buses that are traveling on intercity routes are now required to undertake local trips upon return. Government has, however, noted with concern the profilation of unlicensed vehicles, mushika-shika, and roadworthy vehicles commuting various routes. The public is informed that government, through the Zimbabwe Republic of Police, will enforce the law without fear or favor for the safety of the traveling public.
Yeah, the statement is good in its text, but what is when the ground is different?
Yes.
Yes, they can discuss with those operators under the franchise, but still they did not address the fuel issue. Of course, operators can agree that we are issuing our buses back, but what caused them to withdraw
To
their services?
their services at the
It's
first time.
non-payment of funds, and they are looking that their vehicles are losing their value. They cannot maintain them, looking at what they are getting.
What they're getting.
So they opt to put their
withdraw.
buses on other routes,
Or
maybe
withdraw.
and park. That's possible. And on licensing, yes, we can say the buses were waiting licensing, but we are seeing these buses, especially the white buses, they are being on the roads. They do not have passenger insurance, no fitness. They do not have number plates. So what licensing are they talking about?
Exactly.
They are fighting themselves.
I think what's interesting right now that has me thinking at this moment is, with this issue of the statements, it becomes a question that is there corruption in the transport sector? Should we then begin to realize or begin to talk about corruption in the sector? Because what else could be the reason of there not be enough fuel when, in fact, when they implemented this, they had promised this, private communities that they'll be providing them with fuel. Is it that the fuel is not enough, or is it that they're not providing it, or is it that someone is pocketing?
The issue is on fuel. Fuel is being supplied, but sometimes it runs short.
It runs short.
Yes.
So that is to say
But
we have no fuel in the country.
But we have a procurement committee which looks into that. And as a transport entity, they know we consume so much fuel in a month, but every first week of each month, we have a fuel challenge. Or the last week of each month, there's that scenario where we are having fuel challenges. If these are addressed, then we can work with the few buses that are there.
I think
knowing that this bus is taken this route and it's coming back, not that we are saving fuel for a service tomorrow. Yes.
But I've noticed something else as well on these franchise buses. When they started hiring those private companies, when I remember my brains, my bus, people were bringing nice buses for us. But now, because our school now, vakunza mabhazi mamwe kuti wakarikwira so
they're not roadworthy.
Because akuziva kuti inini handisi kubhadharwa mari yangu, there's no need yekuendesa my new bus to ZUPCO.
Yes,
So let me
profit from this.
yeah.
Yes.
So they are sending those old buses, my AVM, my 96 akakwirwa nana mai edu kudhara. Nerimwe racho knows it's not safe for the passengers. So I think in procurement, finance management yekuZUPCO iri kukonzeresa zvinhu zvakawanda.
Chinonetsa kuZUPCO chinhu chimwe chete. They are making money, but they cannot afford to purchase even a single bus. Chinhu chakatokararamisa apa government subsidy. Vakangoti mabhazi ngaaveko, like a miracle the buses were available. Now we have them in their numbers, although the number is still so small, but we are saying the government yakaisa efforts. But just like the railway system, tine passenger train, one plying the eastern routes and the western routes are being serviced by passenger trains. Yes, we have them, but look at the service they are giving us. Most of the time, we don't reach our destinations in time. Dzinofa train idzo dzomunzi. Unozodanirwa bhazi rakapaka some 30 kilometers away kuti uyai kuno chafa chinoziya. And you get disappointed. Saka tiri kuenda kupi kana tichifamba nechitima cha 1932.
AVM ra 1946.
You know, when other countries have reformed, they have changed. I think to our viewers listening and watching, please tune in. Please comment on this, because I'm pretty sure that if you're not affected, someone you know, someone you love, someone in your sector is affected. And it's very important that we talk about the current transport situation in Zimbabwe, because as it is right now, most purchasers are suffering from these current reforms that have taken place. And it hasn't started now, it started long back. It's only that right now it has worsened, and right now we are at a critical point in our transport sector that they should be changed. Something should be done. And as we are here, we're seated talking about what needs to be done, how it has to be done, when it has to be implemented. So I'm just hoping that wherever you are tuning in on this page today, please bring in your comments and your views on this topic. Let's share ideas. Let's help each other in helping to curb this current problem. As we're going on talking on this, Mr. Shibanda, please give us an insight on the level of abuse going on. I hear women are being abused, especially now that the transport situation has worsened. Hanzi vakadzi indirectly vari kubatwa mapasi asiri kufanira kunge achibatwa papressure.
How safe are we?
A lot of things are happening, especially to women. I know men are important, very much important, but I mean, women are being abused. What's your take on that?
Maybe in broad term, we can say safety of our passengers.
Yes.
How safe
in broad,
yeah, how
thank
safe
you.
are we as passengers? Yeah.
As passengers, both men and women, we are not safe because sekutaura kwamamboita tine mavehicles ari kuprovidwa nestate ari unroadworthy. And tikada kucheka tinoona kuti 75% of this state provided transport hazvisi roadworthy. Already tatopa risk.
Ingoro kushika ine chidindo chegovernment.
So tabva mudanger yetransport, tiri kunopinda mudanger yevanhu matsotsi akatigarira kudzimba kwatitadzikira. Remember, tine manew suburbs ari kuita image kwezvinezvi hakuna matower lights, hakuna any kind of lighting. Kumwe kwacho achitori masango. I need to walk 7 kilometers kuti ndisvike kumba ndadzika bhazi racho. So zvese izvozvo zvinhu zvatiri kusangana nazvo. But particularly looking at women, there's violence in public transport. Because zvese zviri kubva pakuti hatina efficient transport system yatinayo. Saka tinoona kuti vakadzi vamwe vanovati they are weaker vessels, but tikaenda kunze kutransport, these people are very strong.
Yeah.
They are able to compete with male counterparts for transport. Unotopushirwa
uchitopinda murori. You know, I've seen even kuna chata kunoza ana mama vachikwira pamusoro vachipinda murori. You
need to understand that at the end of the day, auntie, unlike men, you don't have anyone. When you get home, you don't get questions because you're the head of the house, you're the father. But when I get home, I'm supposed to prepare meal for my family. Auntie, when I get home, I need to remove the work jacket and dress up as the mother of the house. So I'm beginning to do certain duties that I have to do. So if I don't go home at that time, if I don't get home in time, who's going to do those duties for me?
So besides doing all those duties, yes, those we need them. Looking at our culture, yes, you remove all those other
it will then affect, yes.
But in the transport system, cannot tapinda zvedu mubhazi ngatitorese bhazi kana rori iyoyo. Tiri kuona a lot of dehumanizing experiences dziri kusanganikwa nadzo nevakadzi. Sitting positions which are degrading. Pamwe uri kukwira dress rabvaruka, trousers rabvaruka. Then what next?
Wakapfeka skate kuda kukwira murori kutongosimudza kumbo uchienda.
Pamwe uri kubva kumusha une mukwende, you need to carry all those things. Because macha kuti pawatoisa zvinhu ipapo ndo pandoda kugara. What's next? Wakuisa zvinhu
pamakumbo. And pamwe une mwana uri kutsvaga transport chando, you know.
And tikauya kune mawindi tazoenda kune dzimwe dzimushikashika dzanetsa idzi. Tikona maclouds anonyanya kudherera vanhu vechikadzi. Munodhonzwa. We call that kidnapping, and it's not allowed by law. Kidnapping. Wofoswa kukwira sometimes chinhu chosiri kuda.
And
And tiri kuona vakadzi vazhinji anotoridza mhere ari tori paringi because vanogona kungoyo tokubatira
Big.
kapesi kaikai kana kuti chimwe chinhu chawakatakura to embarrass you. Zvinhu zvatisingatarisiri kunge tichiona zvichiitwa kuvanhukadzi. We need to protect them. But because these guys are after money, they don't consider all that. And even kumazupko kwacho, mawindi ariko.
They're still touting.
Touts are there. Pana fold up. Those same ZUPCO buses, dziri kurodha dzakatoita sedzimushika. So hapana musiyano apa. Saka tiri kuti vakadzi ngatingovapai that kind of respect. Tisazonyanyawo kuvadzvanidzira zvedu mumabhazi. But nekuda kwesituation ndinorega bhazi ririko. So
men won't do that. Yes, you're a woman. I respect you. I love you. But what do I do?
Bhazi rikufanira kutakura vanhu 75 kana kuti 64. Chikukwana imomo tiri
105.
You know.
So takungoita kuti zvinhu zvifambe, but patsika chaipo hapachina kumira
zvakanaka. Yes.
Kwazi kunyange vana vedu vatiri kufamba navo vana vezvikoro. Patinokwira mabhazi sevabereki tine kind of language yatinotaurirana inofanira kunge isinganzwi nevana, which is so abusive, inokanganisa futi mind dzevana. So tiri kuzoona vana ivavo vakuita that same behavior yatiri kuita isusu. So vana taikumbira government kuti dai yaigona yave netransport iri dedicated kuvana ivavo. Kana vafeila kuprovide bigger forms of transport, conventional buses, ngavapewo vana tumota tudiki tuoti vozoti vakashandisa mastatisticians avo vanogona kuziva kuti kunzvimbo yakati kune vana vakati vanodzidza kuarea yakati, vovapa mota yavo inovatakura paspecific point yovasvitsa kwavari kuenda, yovapika same point yovadzosa kwayavatora. That will work. Kwete zvatiri kusangana nazvo iko zvinezvi mukaenda parank kana kuti maranks ese right now vana vapedza zvikoro na1 vamixa nevabereki vari kubva kumabasa. Inenge yangove nyonga yega yega, hakuna chakanaka. Mwana ari kuda kuchimbidza kuti asvike kumba aite homework kana kuti awache uniform. Hatisi tese vabereki tiri kuafforda kutengera vana 2 pairs dzeuniform. Ari ngori nechete yangove woma ndikupfeka. Mubereki ari kuti ini ndofanira kuenda kumba ndaneta nebasa.
I think government has to provide mabuses like let's say from 1 to 2 this time kuti pari mabhazi ari designated kuenda maareas ese but achitakura vana vechikoro even ari makuseni from 7 to 8 maybe there will be a bus inotozikanwa kuti rinokwira vana vechikoro only. Because hamutotaura zveshuwa we are having my challenges like what I've been saying. My sister akazopedzera asvika kuchikoro na10 makuseni iye achifanira kutanga chikoro na8 nenyaya yetransport.
I think what we all saying right now is the government needs to improve. What we all saying is the transport sector needs to be improved, not only for the adults, their kids being affected. Every passenger is being affected by this current transport situation. I'll just go through comments, I think 1 to be precise, so that we move on to discuss as we're about to wrap up on what we would suggest could be done. So I'll read through this comment that's saying, you don't pay official transporters and go on non-official transporters at the same time. This sounds like a decision made by someone who rides around a Land Cruiser with free government fuel. I feel like this is just one of those people where you're saying, I use the bus, I use the combi, you don't. So whatever decision that you're making does not affect you. Hence, you are making it in the worst possible manner you can ever make it. And I think we did discuss about this earlier. We did talk about it, that removing them shikas was a brilliant idea, in the sense that it came with safety, it came with sanity even in towns, but it was implemented at the wrong time. I think we also mentioned this yesterday, that the timing of implementing this reform is wrong. You cannot implement something when there is nothing to replace it.
Mhm.
Yes, you cannot take food out of my mouth and give me nothing, not even water. You can't take. It doesn't make sense. It honestly does not make sense. So we want to come at a point where we want to discuss what you think the government should do. What's also them mushika shika, and I think from the cabinet
Response
briefing
briefing.
Yamataura, they were saying that the buses are coming. I mean, we have had that. That's we've been hearing the buses are coming literally every week of our lives. So it's time we think of what to do. Should they bring back mushika shikas? What should they do? Because the current situation in this week, what we're going through this week is horrific. It's terrible. We have already lost 4 lives, and I don't know how many more have been lost through criminal activities. So we cannot keep on losing life. We cannot keep on getting hurt, losing our valuables over something that can be changed. What is your suggestion?
My suggestion panyaya yekupedza dambudziko reproblem mushikashika isu hatitoudi nekuti zvimwe zvavanoita zvechokwadi
Really unhuman.
handizivi kuti motikari yandakwira vanhu vacho vane motikari iyoyo vanhu rudzii tinogona kubirwa sezviri kutoedza kukontrolewa nepolisi. So chatinokumbira kugovernment ndechekuti ngaite liberalize the transport system or have a parallel system which runs together with the franchised system yatinayo yemonopoly iyi. We have bigger companies with the potential to provide their services to the people of Zimbabwe efficiently as compared to what we are seeing now, because we have the competitors right now in the transport system flying longer routes. They are providing good service there. So we need to have those brought in the system so that they can be allocated areas. Like say we pick a big company, my friend, give us so many buses, or we are giving you this eastern region or southern region. How many buses can you provide?
Yes.
Vakadaro zvinhu zvinofamba because panenge pakushandiswa a system where the government is able to control one, the fare structures, two, safety of passengers, and many other things which can come on board. Zvinenge zvakutariswa kuti zvishwa company ichaipa this area iri kumita here requirements.
And I think we need to discuss also on the fair transportation. We all know kuti sometimes you get to have choice. At that time when they bring in other companies, it means that the passenger has a choice on whether he or she goes to pay $1 or to pay 100 bond. That's now a choice. If you have the dollar, or if you don't want, good. But at least there is no discomfort and commotion.
This freedom of choice is enshrined in the Constitution of Zimbabwe, and our government is violating that.
Because takutomanikidzwa like now kutonzi munhu
That's very deep. That's very deep, right? Mr. Shibanda just said something very deep. He says that the government is taking away our freedom of choice.
Exactly.
In the transport sector. And as we have seen, it's been happening not only in the transport sector, in so many other sectors. The government is taking away the right of freedom of the people. And at some point, we need to reform. We need to change. How can we not choose our of all the things? How can we not choose our mode of transport? Why would you take that away from the people? What's the point?
And we're still patrukushaya mabhasi paipai munhu anorwara. Freedom of movement nehealth facilities zvatofa, munhu anofa ari mumba achitya kunokwira mushikashika achiti zviri nandifire mumba pane kuti ndinourayiwa ndiri
they cannot afford.
Panoita mapurisa maoperations avo tinokumbira kuti vaite adhere to the Road Traffic Act. There are certain equipment the police are using which are not allowed to be used when we refer to the Road Traffic Act, like those spikes. Of course, the High Court gave them the green light to use them at road blocks, to be specific, not
in the road.
Those things on moving or at moving vehicles. Look at what happened in Mtare. We lost lives. In Blawayo, we lost lives through police actions. So
and then what's the most painful part of it is they are not answerable to it.
Yes.
No
But
one is
what is
getting
that?
penalty.
Yeah.
There is no penalty whatsoever. They just go scot free.
And we have this parliamentary portfolio committee on transport. It should fight for the safety
Of the people. Of the passengers.
And the provision of transport, they should stand for us.
They cannot just be there and stagnant.
Yes, and we need this government to create a conducive environment that attracts even other players or operators to issue their buses to be used in this franchise ZUPCO, and create other environments where operators
for other operators
vakasununguka. And the application of the law iri kuitwa negovernment is not balanced. Tikuona government yacho ndoiri kutotyora mutemo, iri kutipa zvinhu zvisina kukodzera kuti zvive zviri pamugwagwa. Dzimwe motokari dzavari kutobata kunze uko so ngavangobhalansisa kuti zveshuwa vanhu vane challenge. Tovaregerawo voita sei, vofamba nenguva dzakaita sei, dzakafanira. Plus system of corruption is playing the greater part yekuti tisangane nemachallenges
akadai.
Mushikashika kuti urambe uriko, it's because of corruption. Ndikasvika paroadblock ndogona kungopa a police officer some money ndotopfuura ndakutooperator the whole day, hakuna achandibata because ndapa vanhu
ndabhadhira tollgates
yetollgates sekutaura kwamuri kuita. We have the civil protection unit. It should be playing its part in addressing the plight of community in public in urban areas, and this also affected the rural flock. Operation iritori kuizvakanga zvangotekeshera nenyika yese, saka dambudziko rangotekesherawo zvakare nese. So we need the civil protection unit to come on board, come with solutions to help the public kuti zvinhu zvitinakire zvakanaka. Then tine commuter operators vatanga tinavo kudhara vaya vakaita unite sezvanga zvakaita kuBulawayo. Bulawayo yaive nema-united transport operators. Vanga vakarongeka, transport system yavo chero waiti ukatokanganwa foni ikadonha kombi ikanhongwa nevaridzi vekombi unoiwana foni yako. Unless yanhongwa
another passenger. That is
so that's the same system yavanofanira kustarta yodzorwa. Tinofanira kuwana zvakare masurveys anoitwa negovernment ari maringe nezvetransport. Voita izvozvo kana tichiwana makwesini ekubvunzwa kuti kuno mungade transport yakadii, zvinofamba sei, like nguva dzamunoda kutakurwa nemafambiro. We have a lot of models dzinogona kushandiswa negovernment kuti zvinhu zvifambe zvakanaka, but nyaya inonetsa inyaya yenegligence. Maybe inenge yakanoitwa center pamunhu one, sezvatiri kuona izvozvo kuti dambudziko rese ratinaro muHarare is centered on local government. Kwete vamwe vanhu vese avo tinogona kupomera the whole system, but the center is local government. So pakagadziriswa ipapo kuti local government yabvuma kuno, and it's only one individual anongofanira kunotaurwa kuti baba zvamuri kuita izvika izvi
hazvina kumira
matiisa pachimiro chisina kuita sei chakanaka chiripo tiri kuchiona,
but apa
zvakaipa
zvinogadzika nenzira yakaita sei yakanaka. Zvese zvavari kuita tinozvitenda, safety tinoida, transport iri cheap and affordable isingangokwidzwe tinoida. And panokwidzwa mafares ngapave neconsultation inofanira kutanga yaitwa, kwete ngoti tinomuka takanzi mafares akakwira. And vaita consultation idzodzo tinodawo zvakare kunotifyiwa in advance. Iko zvino tikuona kuti vese vari kushanda macompanies mashoma akaadjusta masalaries. mari dziri kutambirwa nevanhu ishoma shoma. Saka ndikangomuka transport yakwira, what's next? Vana vakushaya chikafu kumba. So we need at least a week to know kuti transport yakwira kubva musi wakati ndinenda kubhadhara mari yakati, then I adjust. And movement trends dzevanhu dzasiyana nedzekudhara. We need modern systems dzinoshandiswa mutransport network. Tobvisa issue yekuti timetable, maybe timetable tongoenda kuti tiri kutanga basa nenguva dzakati, tichipedza basa nenguva dzakati. In between the operations dzeZUPCO dzinofanira kunge dziri random.
And I think now that there is no more curfew, it is just viable that we have the transport 24/7. Because we have people that are security guards, we have people that have their nurses, they work at night. They might need transportation as well. So we cannot have a curfew in transportation when there's no curfew in the country anymore. What are you parting words?
My parting words, I think, there are private players akawanda muno Zimbabwe that can cater the transportation system. I think government gaite model those guys they can get subsidized fuel, kana kono fuel at a minimum price, but vachizishandira vari vega vachitoma free prices anokwanisa kuti vanhu vafambe in a good position. And then corruption, true corruption kunana ZUPCO iri kuwandisa. Both those guys that are not getting paid mari dzavo dziri kuenda kupi, ivo vaswera vachitakura vanhu, but ozonzwanza pay yako kupera kwemwedzi basi rako hatisi kubhadhara, mari yacho iri kuenda kupi? So I think the government has to look on that and then give a chance to the private sector to provide more transport. I think it would be safer for passengers and the rest of the country and the nation as well.
Okay. Wow. It has been a very insightful discussion here on Behind the Mic at Zimbabwe Daily. It has been very, very insightful. Thank you, Mr. Chibanda, for coming through to our studios and having this discussion. It is important that I just have to note just a few things that were mentioned here, that according to law, the laws in Zimbabwe, it is the right of the person. It is the right of every person has a right of freedom, and that has been taken away. That has been taken away by the government in various sectors, and now it is also being shown in the transport sector, and we're also seeing corruption in the transport sector. So now one has to wonder, where are we going as a country? What are we doing as a people? And who is the voice of the voiceless? And if that voice is there, what is it going to do? When is it going to speak? And what action is going to be taken when it eventually speaks? It is time we sit down at our homes, we begin to make a conversation about this. We begin to speak about it. We begin to take action on it, because we cannot continue to suffer because of people that are not taking us seriously or are not hearing our cries in a peaceful manner. We continue to say, please be peaceful, and remember, no to gender-based violence, no to Gukamakafela, and of course, register to vote today. And for me and the crew behind the scenes, we see you tomorrow.